Levi a moment.
Good to go.
All righty. Good evening, everyone. Call to order the meeting called to order at 7 p.m., February 8th, 2023. We'll start off with roll call of council members. Position number 1, Joe Armand.
Here.
Position number 2, David Budrius. I am present. Position number 3, Stephen Hardy.
Present.
Position 4, Chris Moritz.
Here.
Position number 5, Levi Shank.
Here.
Yeah. Okay. At this time, I'd like to recognize any visitors that wish to be recorded.
Denise Holling.
Okay.
Paul Dion, Sunshine Disposal.
Leonard Woolsey, Royal Tree Company.
Okay. Good to meet you, Leonard. Welcome. Alrighty, at this point in time, I'd like to ask council, any additions to the agenda?
Yeah, I've got a laundry list of little updates and stuff.
Okay. Mostly updates, you said?
Yeah, just
Okay.
it's odds and ends on some technology things and the bank building, and it's just kind of a collection of
Okay.
comments.
Anybody else?
If there's time, I can speak to the health insurance, but that's
Okay.
not critical.
We had that on the last,
So it was on and then it got
meeting?
dropped. It
Okay,
never,
it
it
got
never
dropped.
got addressed.
And this is health insurance, you said?
Yeah, the health insurance.
Okay. Some super rates, I imagine, huh?
Yeah. Told them never.
You don't sound so...
I didn't like the way you said that.
Yeah. Okay, first up on the, well, one of the things I'd like to change on the agenda for council tonight is move the library position number 4, right after Royal Tree Company, Leonard presentation or Fields questions. So we'll get Sunshine Paul Dion, and MKB, for the record, is not available tonight. He called and asked myself any questions, and I said I don't have any, or I don't have any questions for him. So we haven't had our meeting, so I don't know what questions council would have. So that'll be done at a later date. I'm not sure what we could resolve with that. But so therefore, I'd like to put in library and Denise Halling on the 4th item down,
Okay.
and then we just stay in sequence. I play by ear. So, okay. I guess right now, first up on the agenda is Sunshine's Disposal, Mr. Paul Dion. And the information I was given, this is to field any questions from council. So at this time, I entertain questions or whatever to Mr. Dion.
So, last meeting, I think it was last meeting, we calculated the total rate increase from one to another, minus the additional blowout fees, right? Does anyone remember exactly what that was percentage-wise? Was it close to?
Paul was here to talk about our solid waste disposal,
Right.
not blowing out.
Oh,
Water
right,
lines.
sorry. I just got, yes.
I get confused too, Steve.
I really tried.
Wow, sure.
You're
Okay, right. Shifting gears, sorry.
Well, I
Thinking with
Go ahead.
stream stuff. Go for it.
Get some fire.
You're obviously more.
Well, the only thing I would have for you, Paul, and about a year ago, I talked with a fellow, and maybe a little over a year ago. And when I talked with him on the phone, he had mentioned something about a contract, and we had a contract. I've asked council members and the mayor, and we have a new clerk fairly fresh off the press, so I wouldn't expect her to know the answer to this, but we've not seen a contract per se. You do have one?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
asked for it. I wasn't aware that was going to be a question and so forth, but I did bring the fully
Okay.
executed version of it.
And I think with all this menagerie here, I think I can't keep them straight myself, if it was lawn care or if it is what it was, but it was broke down. But I got one question, well, the main question is, it appears that, Harrington might be unique. We offer the size of totes or containers, I guess we'll call them, they're our totes, right? And in talking with that gentleman over a year ago, the 32 gallon, 64 and a 96. And I think right now we only have, we don't have that many 32 gallon containers out there. I think we have 8, the records show.
Okay.
6 on this one, 8, so we'll just pick 7. So, just for clarification, how much you're charging, just why is the 32 so much more than,
The 64?
yeah,
I really have no idea. It's other than what I've gotten from our CFO and the owner of the company is that there was a rate structure already in place, and it was just mimicked how it was the pattern of charges at the time, so there would be less of a gap. But it's old enough where some of that knowledge was lost.
I can maybe help you out on that. That does resonate with me to some degree. I believe he, I guess it might have been the CEO I talked to, whatever. And he said at the time when they took over the contract, there was cans out there, regular garbage cans, and they just moved that into that slot. And it was designed in a way through attrition to just go away. Because honestly, it was, I don't know why it was more of a pain to do it. I don't know if the driver, if it's, I don't understand that part, or if there is such a thing, but I know I'll be asking council in upcoming meetings and workshops, whatever it takes, maybe we can take, I don't know if we have a necessity for 3 different sizes.
It might very well be that's the case. I mean, especially since the rate seems to be favorable for the 64-gallon can, then you don't need to restock on the other ones, right? The less can types you have to keep, the easier it is to keep the stock on the right sizes. I have seen it in the past where people or cities or whatever will negotiate certain rate patterns so that they can incentivize movement into one container type versus another. I just pick up the garbage regardless of how it's assembled. I mean, they're all in carts right now, we're ready, set for automated trucks if we wanted to.
Okay. The ones that come down with an arm and pick them up?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. There's personal cans being set out for extras, but there's everything's in what we call a toter. So.
Okay. Yeah, there's a few things that resonate when we were, with the other guy I was talking to, so.
I came with, with rates in the county, the people immediately surrounding town, the rates that they pay versus what are paid, billed out to the customers here. There's a pretty sizable difference between the two.
Speaking of it, now, everything from here, all the garbage, refuse, it goes to the Lincoln County Transfer Station,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I get, there's no possibility of taking it up to Spokane, probably more money anyways.
So-
Just guessing.
Mark gave me some research to do on that. So one thing that we have to check on is the apple maggot
Yeah, quarantine.
quarantine.
Mhm.
We weren't certain if the origination of that, of hauling it to Lincoln County only was because of that. Whether we are allowed to take waste into, the Valley Transfer Station or something like that. Usually the rate is actually fairly favorable out at Lincoln County as it is, so
Okay.
it may not make a fiscal difference for you.
Do you find a 96 gallon container? I know some of the stuff here, are they actually a 96, a 95, and a 90 here? I'm not sure.
Yeah, depending on the
People call them
brand, so the sizes they give you are at water level full for the can.
Okay,
However, some of them have a bubble to the lid, so they give you a little bit more. But I've just used the 96, 64, 32. There's some wiggle room on 34 gallon at the bottom end. Some of them are 95 gallon again, but you add in the lid volume, then it gets it to 96.
do you happen to know from experience what a 96 gallon tote weighs generally with garbage?
I can tell you at places like on the coast where I worked, they would have a 180 pound limit on those.
Mhm.
My pounds per set out, I do that math, depending on the area you're in, it can be as much as 80 pounds per set out on it as an average.
Mhm.
Here in Harrington, I forget what the number is off the top of my head, but it seemed like there was a little bit of what we call airspace in it in certain, it was a little bit lower than I was expecting to find as pounds per set out. It could be because, the steel dumpster rates are much more favorable per gallon than the smaller cans are,
Mhm.
leading me to believe that there's some airspace there that's not being filled.
Well, just a little bit of research I did come up with around in the 90 gallon or 95, 96. It was average about 70 pounds.
That's
And a
pretty close.
65 was about 46. So I was just wondering how close those numbers resonate with you.
They're very, very close
Okay.
to what my math came to. Yeah.
And the gentleman I talked to, again, mentioned that a person moving from let's say a 32, going to a 90 gallon, what concerns us is the tipping fee, the potential, but that's not always the case, they find, or he led me to believe. Just because a person has a 90-some gallon container doesn't mean you're automatically going to be stuffed to the gunnels and being charged extra for that.
Downward mobility, you'll definitely find people jumping on their cans
Yeah.
because they're downgrading because they can't afford the can, right?
Right.
But for the most part, you're still going to find a fairly normalized pounds per gallon between the three. With the exception in the 32 gallon, a lot of times people will get the 32 gallon because they, like senior citizens and so forth, that's what they have to actually move the cans around with. I mean, it's lighter, it's smaller, and they don't tend to have as much trash. Whereas, the 90 gallon cans, oftentimes you have families
Mhm.
and heavier trash that way. There can be some, but on an average, it's still very hard to find a difference
Right.
in the cans, in the toters. At least a consistent one.
Yeah. And I know there's probably different months of the year you notice, we do on our bill.
Grass clippings get into the trash, for
Yeah.
instance, come
Yeah,
the season, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Or,
Or leaves,
okay.
pumpkins, turkeys. Seen it all.
Tires.
Hunting season hits and you've got carcasses.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's-
Is there anything that, well, I guess doesn't really
Dead
matter.
deer head.
Well, that's about all I had for questions myself. Anybody else privy to any of this?
I just have a question. I've got the largest one, And many times I have to run down the alley to get my can because it's blown away. But I do put a great big rock on it.
Okay.
You know, most of the time when I think, we have a lot of wind around here. So some of those smaller, or those 2 smaller cans, I'm just wondering about if they're empty or they don't have very much in them, what are we gonna do about that?
That's a darn good question. Well, that rocks will sometimes work. Are you on a main thoroughfare, like through town?
No, it's the alley.
Okay. Do we plow in the alleys at all? Is that possibly what's dragging that can down the other side, or is it just the wind that's
It's the
culprit?
wind.
And it's doing it to a 90-gallon toter, huh?
Well, I don't fill it up, you know, and like I said, I try to put a rock on it when I don't think I'm gonna put anything more in it, but this rock is like this big and it's heavy.
Yeah.
So I'd rather do that than have to go
Chase
through
it down the road.
And Zach's fine with
chase the
that.
garbage, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Zach's fine with you doing that. Even if it was someday to become automated, let's say, the guys, you know, the arm, usually you go out with the arm, you should give it a little bit of a shake, the rock falls off, and then you dump it, and then set it back down. Right now, Zach's handling everything by hand, so he just spills the rock off to the side, dumps the can, and moves on. That's common practice. Other people, you know, I don't like this so much as a garbage man, but you can put like bungees on the lid and so forth. I mean, I'm not going to care if you drill a hole through it and put some sort of a latch mechanism on it, but it does make it a little fun to get off when especially when it's icy or snowy or something.
Or automated.
Or automated, yeah. But, you know, apparently Velcro gets onto the seats when automated trucks get deployed.
Oh, yeah.
I'm old school. I grew up, you know, in the industry throwing garbage by hand, just like Zach's doing. And, well, we didn't have toters or toter flippers back then, but
Okay.
so.
I do have one question.
Yes.
From your industry perspective, for your equipment and everything, is one of these cans that we use more efficient for you guys to unload
It is.
than another?
Well, maybe not more efficient. Cleaner, more sanitary, more presentable on the street. You have less of the wind taking the cans and blowing them down than you do with personal cans. I think from a hygiene perspective and aesthetics perspective, those cans are much better. Plus, we own, cans and we replace them essentially for free, right? So.
Well, I just meant, was one size cheaper
Oh, with one
for you
size?
guys? I mean, like maybe one loads easier than another one.
No.
Okay.
I might throw those 32-gallon cans by hand, although I tell the drivers not to do that, but, I tend to throw them because that's how I was trained, but.
The 32 is about the size of those old aluminum cans, isn't it? Or those,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to be roughly the same volume. But I wouldn't call one more efficient than the other.
Or the only thing that I would throw my 2 cents in, if you're talking like a 32-gallon, is that the odds are, from what I'm reading in our bills and stuff, the drivers are having to pick up extra bags. If you had a bigger one, they wouldn't have to be picking that up like that. Would be the only.
I mean, the drivers are given some lenience in most of the places where we do the billing and stuff, where if there's a practice of a customer that they keep setting out extras and so forth, they tap us on the shoulder in the office and we'll call them. It's cheaper to upgrade your service than have routine extras out there.
Mm-hmm.
So we do try to take care of the customers in that regard. It's like we're billing you for like crazy. It is more efficient for us to have it in a can versus on the ground and so forth.
So from that perspective, sure.
So,
Okay.
I think I got one question, my last question. Do you offer a option for twice a month for, say, seniors? Doesn't really have to be senior, but anybody like that doesn't produce a lot of garbage, that can just like the first and third or different days, or twice a week, or twice a month instead of 4 times.
I'm open to the negotiation on
Okay.
that. Right now, it's not set up in the rates, but, you know, there's crafty little ways that you can help senior citizens and so forth, disabled folks. Some places do an ordinance. I know Kettle Falls and Colville, for instance, had an ordinance where there's a discounted rate for certain qualifying individuals and so forth. There is some places that negotiate a walk-in service, for instance, where maybe for disabled people or whatever, the walk-in fee is waived. You know, you can write that into these contracts.
Okay.
And it's fairly common practice, so and usually in those situations, the city has to approve of that. So whatever process the city has, the person comes in, asks for the waiver, that waiver gets sent to the city, or from the city to us, and then we just execute.
Okay.
I think if I remember right, we only had 2 people in the city that were
Mhm.
getting that service.
Yeah.
So
I think the first question I have with it is, because what we're trying to grapple with obviously is the increasing costs for people all across the board in life in general right now, and that includes both the lawn mowing that I thought we were originally talking about there for a sec, and the trash collection that we actually are talking about. So looking at what we have set up for our contract, aside from, shall we say, more special cases like seniors and the disabled, but if there's just people who are interested in lowering their cost of living, and what you see in our current configuration, do you have any suggestions of things we could configure differently as we do business with Sunshine to lower rates for people, regardless of whether you think we would maybe want to do it? Just to throw out ideas, what do you see as things that you know you could potentially offer to us that might be of interest?
I see, I mean, as far as reconfiguring goes, I see a rebalancing. I mean, I got the rates from the city today about what gets charged to the customer and so forth, and then I did a cost comparison with the county, like I said. There seems to be much cheaper at the steel dumpster side per gallon, much cheaper. And to be a comparison on that, it's $78 a month for a 2-yard dumpster collection weekly. It's $172.64 in the county, plus $12 rent per month for the same exact service. There's less of a disparity in the smaller sizes, and it tends to flow. You know, you could almost multiply that 32-gallon rate times 6, and that's
Yeah.
for your 1 yard.
No, we have a new rate schedule that we're going to at least look at that helps kind of equalize that across. We know that we're subsidizing dumpsters.
And you
quite
might be
frankly.
able to use that, and you probably already have, right?
Yeah.
So move the residential rates down a bit and up on the commercial rates a bit, which will probably push some people into the toter rates, which is probably what you wanted anyways. I see that as an opportunity. Configuration-wise, that would be the low-hanging fruit. We're already coming out here, you know, 1 day a week. It's fairly efficient the way that it's being picked up. You know, fuel costs have gone up double from 21 to 22. Shop double. You know, truck expense from 2019 till now to buy a new truck is double. Had to raise wages almost 25% over the last 18 months in order to keep employees staffed. COVID did not do us any flavors there.
No.
And I believe one question that Jess had, I don't know if he already got this answered, but he was telling me the day before yesterday, he was curious, is it always one truck? Are you always able to get Harrington in one truck, or is there ever times where there's twice the fuel because twice the truck runs?
If we end up running twice the fuel or twice the truck down here, you don't get dinged for it. That's, you know, we have a breakdown or something like that, and we have to send a truck out to help, which is relatively rare with this particular route, but it happens. That's not a usual thing. Zach's usually able to come down here, fill up his truck and go to the transfer station, and it's a clean dump. There's no mixing of outside of town or anything like that to
Right.
interfere with that either. I mean, heck, you guys even do the toter and steel delivery on those things, which is kind of outside the norm too.
Okay.
You get that, which is, and you got a contract, that, I mean, I will commend the city for having a contract in the first place. So it has helped to control the rate increases, you know, by pointing at CPI language. So, you know, whereas we would be coming out, if we were to really come after this and try to recover all of our costs, it would be like a 30% rate increase, whereas the contract itself has forced that to the CPI language. And that's a good thing. That's to be commended on the city's part. I think you took care of your citizens pretty well, and so now it's a 7.69%. 6.9. And then, you know, whatever the fuel cost is, it's gonna be relatively minimal, but,
I think those were my questions. Thank you for coming to see us.
no problem. Always a resource.
You guys good?
I'm good.
That contract you said you have there, does
you
the
like me to
city
s-
have one?
I don't know that answer.
One of you guys want to run that
Would you like me
resolution?
to stake out a photocopy? This is the original. I don't have all the rate schedules that have happened in subsequent years, but
Right, that's fine.
they're both sides.
I was just like interested in the length of the contract, how many years?
Yeah, well, he's got it. I'll reference it when I get back. There's some publications and stuff, I think, in that packet I just handed you, but there's like the first 5 pages of the contract piece.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, we do appreciate you taking time out to come down out of your way like this.
well, no, it's-
I don't know if they're open over there or not for you. Get dinner before you leave, go back.
No, I'm here as a resource for everybody here, so if there's something you need taken care of, by all means, I've left my card, contact with the mayor.
Okay.
Door's open.
Might as-
I can always scan it when I get back and send it in if you would like.
And then they get this speed, that's great.
Did you take the staple up?
No.
Oh. Well, it was clipped, I didn't think it would be clipped and stapled.
Oh my
I was underestimating here. That would probably explain why it,
Here's my second one.
do you mind if I unstaple your staple?
By all means, and any means.
I think we have a stapler here, right here.
Left, in the top left drawer there.
Oh, this one? Ah,
We still do.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, now what's your name?
Break mine.
And you said right.
don't mind me, you can proceed, I'll get this done and come back. Those are separate.
I've never known anybody with that name either, so. Good cats. He's good people. He takes pretty good care of me. And I'm the new guy in the block. I mean, I've been garbage for a long time, but.
See if you can use a ream of paper there, Stephen.
Go ahead if you want, David. You-
Okay. Well, if council is good with questions, like I said, thank you, Mr. Dion, Paul,
You're very
for
welcome.
coming down. Have a safe trip back. You're welcome to stay, or you can skedaddle. It's
I will
up to you.
probably skedaddle as soon as
Yeah,
we.
I don't blame you. Okay.
It's simple. Well, thank you, everybody here.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Next is MKB, and like I mentioned prior, that'll be a later date, obviously. Did anybody, just for the record, did anybody have any questions with the lawn care? That's the lawn care. Are you familiar with that, Chris?
The lawn,
MKB, they do our
yes,
parks and
I've had
cemetery.
I've had them do work for
Okay.
me, yeah.
Okay.
It's a good group.
Did you guys have it? Did anybody have questions for them? Or do we need to? I guess we can just set it for next agenda, so. Okay. The next one is, pronounce your last name again.
Woolsey?
Woolsey?
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Woolsey, Leonard Woolsey has the floor. Any questions? And you are representing Royal Tree Company. Correct? And another question I have for clarification, I'm just for a company bid, for one, and I know of two right now, I believe, out. There's a cemetery tree removal, and then there's some for some underneath the water tower. So I'm not quite privy on which one, if we're looking at both of them, or just what the questions are about them.
I
think
I could speak out of turn, but I believe you're here for basically the cemetery, not for the water tower.
I mean, I'm here for whatever you guys have questions about. I mean, I'm kind of here, I guess, more so for the cemetery. The ones under the water tower, I mean, they're not.
That's done, correct?
No.
That hasn't been finished yet. Okay.
No, no. I've not set anything yet.
Okay.
He just told me to come here and answer questions if you guys have questions, or kind of helps you guys out, I guess.
I know there was one council member had a question, and the only thing I know about that is there was something about insurance.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks, Stephen.
Tell Brad hi.
Have a copy.
So I
just sent it to council.
I did recheck that. That's all been corrected.
Okay, so we're good to go on insurance, so there's no questions regarding that.
Yeah, from a state licensing point of view, that's been all resolved. I guess to say this, assuming we would go forward, because it's your contract, not our contract, so to just throw it in, we would need to get a certificate of insurance.
Right, correct.
With the city as additional insured, blah, blah, blah. And I can send that to you to forward to your agent.
Yeah,
It's
that's
pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, it's pretty standard. I've done that with many different entities, same.
So,
Were they looking, was the mayor looking for a vote on this tonight, or just information only? Is he looking for, I don't know the answer to that.
I will. I know I think everything on the agenda shows as an action item. But admittedly, I don't necessarily know that I saw the final estimate.
I can give you, okay, that's that one.
No, that's not it.
I'll just ask my question real quick
If you're
then.
gonna do that.
Do you know how many of these
$1,000,
trees
I'm all
that
over
are being
it.
felled are along the perimeter
That's not the
of the cemetery, right off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, I believe there's only one.
Okay. They're all locusts and they're all ugly, and this time of year they all look dead. So when I went through there, I wasn't exactly sure which ones were.
Yeah, so originally when I went through the cemetery, I was looking for immediate hazards only.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing, I mean, there's a lot more in there that needs attention, but these were ones that were decaying.
Okay.
They had other trees growing out of them. I mean,
Right.
they were immediate threats and hazards to public, and you don't, to put a time frame on a tree is kind of hard to say, because trees can do really weird things. They might fall over tomorrow and they might not, but they show very heavy problems.
Okay.
So, but there was only one that I put on the outer perimeter.
Okay.
And it was only because it was within the scope of the building in the very back.
Okay.
So I went around only where there was headstones, where there was buildings, structures, anything like that. I actually didn't go around the full back, so
Okay.
people weren't gonna be,
Headed that direction
Yeah.
very soon.
Yeah, exactly. But I did go through everything, and I pretty much listed out the immediate, the worst of the
Okay.
worst, the ones that really show signs, and there's definitely, I don't remember off the top of my head, but I could say probably about 6 more trees in there that need some attention. I know for sure that there's a few trees that need removed, but they weren't like something that was an immediate
Okay.
threat.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And just so the council knows, I don't know how many of you received this, but I just emailed the council, Royal Tree Company bid here, estimate. The date on it is January 24th, 23. And it's for a total of $24,516. Is that the most current one, Leonard?
I believe so.
See if it comes through on your...
I actually had one question. I don't know if you guys would know the answer to or not, but with the insurance and stuff for prevailing wage in public works, I don't know how the city plans to pay for it, or who's owns it, or if it's actually would be granted, or something that makes it prevailing wage on in it or not, because prevailing wage obviously changes my employees' rates, which changes some. I mean, it's already kind of in there, but it does alter it a little bit, not.
So, Leonard, so I get this straight, what this estimate here,
Mm-hmm.
estimate 0366, and that is for $24,516. You say that has prevailing wages on that or not? No, okay. Because I don't have the answer for you if that is or not a prevailing wage.
Yeah, and I didn't know either. I haven't ran into the point where I needed to do prevailing wage, and I've done work with the Davenport and the fairgrounds and the courthouse. I never ran into this, and so I didn't know. Sometimes if you're being granted the money from the state wants you to follow certain guidelines, and then that sets it up to where it is prevailing wage. But it just kind of depends on how it's structured and how it's paid for and all that stuff. And I don't know that answer right off the top of my head. So
I don't think we're getting any grant money for this, pretty safe to say.
No, we're not. But it is still city funds, still government funds.
Well, I'm kind of confused. What is the insurance for?
Okay. Insurance is in case he liability insurance, in case.
Okay, but if he has a business, doesn't he carry insurance on his employees?
Yes.
That's what it's for. That's what it's for. Like if they break a
Breaking
tree down and
headstones.
wipe out a headstone.
So you're insuring that part as far as the headstones are concerned?
we are.
They are.
They are.
The contractor, yes. That's what we were talking about, is the contractor carrying a bond, having a bond and enough insurance to cover the liability if something happens,
And then the city will go ahead and sign the contract then for the work that's going to be done, with that included in it?
It's not a cost to the city, it's just a protection for the city.
But you
yes.
signed it in agreement that that's what's going on?
So we're hiring, the city is hiring him as a contractor
Correct.
to do the work, just like you would hire them to do the work.
Okay,
What's different is, as a contractor working on what effectively is a public work, so he's working for the public government.
correct.
The state requires that the wages that he pays are the federal prevailing rate.
Okay,
So it really, that conversation has nothing to do with the insurance, but it has to do with his operation, and is he in compliance with labor and industries
Right.
on that topic?
And that in turn would affect the estimate to
okay.
some degree.
I worked for the Employment Security Department, and so I'm listening to all of this that's going on, and that doesn't meet muster. I got lost.
Okay.
Oh, it gets better.
I'm okay. Oh, no, I'm okay.
Yeah. I think the way I understood it when I was going through the training videos and all that was that I think it falls into, if you're not being granted from the state grant or federal grant or anything for the trees, and possibly it would fall in who owns the property,
Right.
you know, if it's a government property, you have to pay prevailing wage. If it's like city property, I don't think that falls underneath of it unless it's,
Unless we're getting money from them, a
Correct.
grant or something.
that's the way I understood that.
That's,
That
I
makes
didn't want to
sense.
say nothing, but that's kind of the way I'm under the presumption of, but let's check on that to make darn sure.
Yeah, and I mean, it was public, you know, public works and prevailing wage, so it's kind of a twofer on the registration, I guess you'd say, through L&I, but
So you will have employees on this job?
correct.
Okay, good.
Now, I think in one of our, was it last one or past council, recently, we talked about, and that was my question. I think you wrote in here, and I apologize, I haven't read every line in here and everything, but stump grinding and stuff, that was extra. I don't think it was a great deal extra to do that.
Correct. Originally, and granted, I'm kind of obviously going through the mayor and trying to figure it out, and so I'm trying to just make sure that what I'm bidding on is kind of the same, so that everybody's apples to apples, you know, nobody's, and then that way it cuts the confusion out of what
Right.
every different person's doing. I put stump grinding in there. I put it separate. Just recently, I cut it out of it and I made it a separate, an estimate for that alone. So apples to apples for the tree removals, everything down 1 to 2 inches flush cut to the ground. And you know, we spray the stumps so the trees don't try to regrow. And then the stump grinding would be an additional, I think it was like 28-ish or 2,900, I think it was.
The stump treatment is 200 that you were talking about.
Yeah, the stump treatment.
And that's
we
just to
treat-
keep the trees from returning.
Correct. We treat the stumps when we're done,
Okay.
because the deciduous will
Sucker.
try to regrow from there, or they might try to regrow 30 feet away. It just kind of depends on how healthy and how close to the surface level the tree was, or the root system.
This has absolutely nothing to do with the financial aspect of this. I'm just curious. You guys use a boom truck, right?
Yes, on some of them we
Okay. How big of sections do you take that down in?
will. We take them in as big as we
Okay, that's kind of what I figured. We did this once when I was a kid to some other trees with a cherry picker, and I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah, it'll just kind of aids in how we can transfer them from one part of the cemetery
Okay.
to where there will be left, I guess you'd say,
Okay.
stacked and whatnot.
That was just curiosity on my part. Thank you.
Yeah.
So you do the disposal of them after you cut them down and,
Yes, the debris. That was the deal that I believe that they came to was, we would remove all the debris, flush cut the stumps, and then we would move the wood
Just kidding.
To a location.
to a location in the back corners of the cemetery where there really wasn't anything there, and then we'd pile it all there so that
Folks with wood stoves
folks,
could.
could come and cut it up and take it and that sort of.
Okay.
too fast.
Okay. Everybody good?
I got something just to say.
Okay.
So you'll take this current estimate, tweak it, make sure for what we can do, and
Yeah. I tried to take every different avenue to try to work
Did you get my
with.
email?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have a couple questions. Can you walk me through, if I remember correctly, there was a history to this bid. Originally it was higher and we worked a couple things. Can you walk me through the history of your bid for this?
Yeah, so originally I was told to go over, take a look,
Yeah.
find out what's bad, and basically didn't really have a whole lot out from there. So originally my bid was to look at all these trees, and I looked at all of them, went through, and that's where we came up with all the pictures and everything. And it was a full blown removal, everything gone, wood transported out of there. Virtually there was nothing left behind.
Yeah.
So that was the original bid, was to haul off all the wood from the property as well as what's currently there, chipping the debris and all that stuff, you know, spraying the stumps, that sort of thing. And then I believe later on when they brought other people in to bid on it and whatnot, that I was told that they had a dump site or something in town that was shut down or
Yes.
something, which I planned on taking the wood to that spot and the debris somewhere else. So that kind of changed things for all of us, but that's when he said, you know, we're just gonna put all the wood on the property in the back corners, which changes drastically because now you don't need to trailer it and dispose of the wood and all that stuff. So it cut a ton of labor, extra men, and fuel, that sort of thing out of our bid. So it lowered it substantially from what the original bid was.
Okay. So the only remaining question is just the effects of prevailing wage, correct?
Yeah, I believe so. That's one that has to be clarified for Leonard, for your
Okay.
company.
I make a motion to allow the mayor to sign a contract with the Royal Tree Company in relation to estimate EST 0366, with the provision that it may be adjusted as would be appropriately affected by the impacts of prevailing wage, whatever that comes to. To me, if whatever changes happen to this estimate regarding prevailing wage are going to be close enough, that's what we have to do to get it done. So in my thinking, it'll either be this number or it'll be a number that we see only affected by prevailing wage changes.
Is that all part of the motion?
Yeah, it's just that it would be either what we see here or just the changes to this affected by prevailing wage.
I'll second that.
All righty, we have a motion by Stephen, second by Levi. Any further discussion?
I'm good.
Okay. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Abstain? Myself. Motion passes 4-0-1.
So the other estimate we have from you then is the one regarding underneath the water tower, right?
Correct.
Do we also have the same consideration for that one in regards to prevailing wage?
I don't think I got that one bite.
It's in the council packet that Donna sent.
That job won't affect prevailing wage because there won't be anybody else but me there.
Okay.
Okay.
Those are junipers you're taking out up there, aren't they?
Yes.
Okay.
They ought to smell good.
What's that?
Well, I can personally attest to how problematic removing junipers are.
Yeah.
Yes. Is that the only thing that's up there, is junipers? It looked like by the picture that there were some others.
Yeah, so there's 3 junipers and then there's what we call a woody brush.
Okay.
They're just small, 1 to 2 inch, and there's a row of it about maybe 10 feet long, 10, 15 feet. And I believe our estimate was to remove all that stuff and just basically leave it next to the roadway so that they could, the city would dispose of all the material from there.
Any further questions, Stephen, you had on that, or is it?
I'm willing to make a motion on it generally, but Levi,
I just had a question. Should we pass this one? When would you be doing this? Do you have any idea?
I can do it. I can do that one really soon. Anytime.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I had.
I mean, for context on this, if I remember correctly, Troy was whacking away at that for a while and wasn't making a lot of headway for various reasons. So I don't have a lot of backstory to this one, but I'm assuming this is that it's going. The argument here is that it's going to be easier to incur over $891 with Troy and company than it will be to just pay to get it done, right? Or am I missing any pertinent context to this?
That's what I'm saying.
There's a lot of juniper bushes all along the back. I believe that was mostly what he was pulling out of the ground, and
Okay.
I believe that he had caught a pipe or something underneath there. Is why they had me come there. Also, one of them is kind of up in some phone wires and whatnot, so obviously they need to be climbed and taken apart properly, not to cause damage to the pole and the phone line. But there's a bunch of junipers there, and that's not on our bid. I don't know what's under the ground as far as locate, because I don't need those, because we're just flush cutting them. So I know, talking to him, that I don't know if they had a plan to get rid of the rest of the debris, or grind the stumps, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
We're just doing what's kind of, I guess, the taller stuff out of it, and then I don't know if he's gonna try to rip it out or grind them out, or I'm not sure. We can remove all the junipers, cut them out and all that stuff, and then you'd just be left with grinding them, but I don't know what the plan was outside of.
The question I had, I think I read it, I can't find it now, but I believe there was some dialogue in here about take some of the wood, I'm thinking, and stack it next to the edge and stuff, and I'm thinking junipers, there's really not a whole lot of wood there.
Yeah, there's a juniper bush and a juniper tree, basically. There's 3 trees there. The bushes, they're low, so they're only a couple feet high. They can be really crazy and wild, have very intricate root systems. So if there's water lines and everything else under the ground, and you try to just
It can go badly.
rip them out, sometimes they just pop out. Sometimes they rip whatever's
Badly.
entangled in them out too. So ripping them out, you definitely need to locate really good on where it is and if it's actually within the root system or not. Cutting them out, obviously, you can grind the surface of them down.
They're a mess.
They are. They're very, very messy.
Okay.
I move to allow the mayor to sign an agreement with Royal Tree Company per estimate EST 0369 for a total of $891 for the removal of 3 junipers and woody brush underneath the water tower.
I'll second it.
Okay, Joe, second. Okay, we have a motion by Stephen and a second by Joe. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Abstain? Myself will abstain. Motion passes 401. Good deal.
And before you leave, I have 2 quick things that are not really pertinent to this, but just 2 questions. One, in my more recent attending of the commissioner meetings, I was reminded of how close Lincoln County had come to not ensuring that the sales tax was properly coded and losing out on some of that. Just wanted to make double sure that when you code the tax on that, that gets coded to us here so that we recover some of that.
Is Harrington's different than
8.
8?
No, it's this, but just making sure that that is a sale inside the city, so that comes
Right.
back.
It's designated city.
I wouldn't have thought it, but I've realized with the discussion with the county, they've had to fight hard to make sure that some contractors have actually got it coded right. Like the roadway between Davenport and Reardon nearly got coded into a whole different tax, and that would have missed out on lots and lots of money on the sales tax coming back on that huge amount. So I'm just keeping my eye on as we work with contractors. Not that I think you're doing it wrong, but just as a mention to make sure we get that back so we can recover that. But
I'll be honest, I'm right over my head
Yeah,
because
not his bailiwick.
I hand all my invoices to my accountant, and then they
Sure. Just
so-
saying that that's registered as a sale in Harrington. So
Okay.
maybe just talking to, because that tax money comes back towards us as a sale.
Gotcha.
So we're just wanting to make sure that doesn't end up going to a different municipality or anything like that.
Right.
So, and then the last question I have for you is, I'm just curious, chips, wood chips, do you guys ever, what do you do with your wood chips?
all over the place. I have people that want them, I give them away for free. So
Okay.
I have lots of
Just-
people that are nearby in different towns and areas and whatnot that they basically just have, dump them here, and
Let them decompose.
when I'm in the area with, we dump them, so.
It's a thought that had been in the back of my mind that if we ever had a location for the community benefit to have some wood chips available, if we had a place to dump a pile, then our community could draw off of that if they needed wood chips for it, and you could, it's in the early stages of a thought in my head, but
I can tell you that wood chips that you get from,
right,
tree
they're
company,
clean and
they're a lot,
uniform.
a little bit bigger than what you're gonna buy, like beauty bark, stuff like that.
Sure.
After like 5 years, they're gonna decompose a lot on, underneath. Especially if you turn them, it makes it even better, and then you make a good compost out of
Sure.
it.
Well, and that's why,
It
like,
covers dirt,
Yeah.
mud, places you don't want weeds to grow.
I'm mulching my garden with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can cover six inches, and you won't have weeds in an area. Or if you have really muddy spots, you can cover it, and it'll kind of make the ground a little bit firmer and absorb a lot of the water. But
no, I know enough about the bark to know, or the mulch and stuff to know that you couldn't use it for everything, but there's a few things you could use it for. So,
What
Right.
organisms live in it?
Like termites.
termites. Yeah. Believe me, I'm going to keep it a ways away from my house.
Is there anybody, any more questions from council?
Oh, I'm good.
I'm good.
All right, well, thank you so much for
Thank you
showing
for
up.
coming down.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Yes.
that.
Thank
Answer
you, guys.
questions, Leonard.
I look forward to working with you guys. So. If you guys don't have any more questions, I am going to take off.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yeah, I came straight from work, so. Didn't even have
We
time to go
appreciate
home.
it.
Yes.
We appreciate
Thank
it.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Have a safe
You
trip
guys have a good
home.
evening.
You too. All righty, got that one out of the way. Okay, next on the list is Miss Halling. Denise, with the Library Services and Technology Act Grant Agreement. I have this, I think, I'm gonna ask council, is council up to speed on this? How many, show of hands? Anybody? I know there's probably
Only
two.
because I had a conversation on Saturday.
Okay, there's probably three of us that kind of know what's going on. You don't- no clue on that? Okay.
I know it's
And I
not
know
simple. Is there a Cliff Note version?
Chris didn't, because she couldn't open up her,
Yeah, I wasn't able to open anything.
So, the
Go for it.
grant. The grant is to pay for Koha, which is the computer program, okay? So that, and then it includes 10 hours of training for our librarian. We pay for the training up front, and then I keep track of everything. I send it in for a reimbursement, which will literally come to approximately under $160. So they'll reimburse us for that training. Since she's under 10, and since she's under a year, they'll pay for an extra 10 hours of training. Now, that training does not have anything now to do with the Koha. That is extra training, as they call, to be a better librarian, is what they call that. So whether we choose to do that or not is our business, is on us. But the 10 hours is with that Koha. With that, it also takes us, it pays for the Koha, which is the computer, and it locks us in to a $500 a year fee that we pay to have that computer. It's free to us for the first 3 years, but then that contract locks us, so it's $500 from there on out.
Or,
I
And it's a computer
contact,
program we're getting a license. It's not the hardware, it's the program we're getting a
There
license.
is no
for.
hardware.
Yeah.
Software.
So
It's just the
Just to
software.
say it's not just the
It's
computer.
because it's all iCloud.
Okay.
So I contacted Bywater Solution and I asked them, I said, what is it gonna cost if we don't use this grant? $6,150 for the whole program, and that included the training. And then it's $2,000 a year on out for us just to have it.
was that a year or a month?
A year. A year. $2,000 a year.
And the 500 is a month
Five.
or
But if we use the grant,
It's only 500.
it's $500
a year?
a year,
Okay.
forever.
So
clear.
use the grant, save $1,500.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they will, the second year and the third year, they will give us 10 hours again of free training for our librarian, whether it's Maria or somebody else, it's free. They'll pay for that, we pay for it up front. I fill all the paperwork out and they'll reimburse us. But basically, that $6,150 is what that whole program costs, which is either out of our pocket or by the other, but it's that $2,000 that's the big part. I mean, $2,000 a year, just so that we can say we can scan our computers, it goes in the computer, it can tell us where that book is, or whether we have it or whether we don't. To me, it's a lot of money. So if we use the grant, but I could sign for that, however, in the back part, in the part B, I think it was, it's the fiscal part. So that means that with our city going over grants of $750,000, that automatically brings in a flag for an audit. Well, we did reach that. My little tiny grant of $6,100 is not going to do that, but because the city's already going to be audited, all they're asking for then is a copy of that. But because I have no access to the city, although the city gives us our funding, so it's really, I spent days with this lawyer, that lawyer, that lawyer, that lawyer. Yeah, I because of that report or the audit, I can't sign for this grant. So the mayor has to sign for the grant.
So we
which is-
just need to give the mayor approval to do this.
That is correct.
Okay.
And I do believe because, and then he said, Bingaman said that we needed a resolution, but I believe our library resolution takes care of that resolution.
Well, the only correspondence I have from from David Bingaman, our attorney, is February 1st, and it's highlighted. It's highlighted that council will need a resolution to approve the contract. And
I
that's
also
my-
don't believe that he knows of our resolution.
That was my next question. How much information did he have to make that determination? And has there been any contact since then regarding that? That I don't know.
Denisa, after the training, and you get the additional amount of training every year for whomever, is it like an upgrade, or would it be the same stuff, or do you have to pay extra for an upgrade, like if something else is?
Basically, once we get trained on the COHA, that's the first 10 hours. Anything, that next 10 hours is just sending her out there to learn what's new in the
Because-
library thing, so every year is something different.
Okay.
And that's strictly at our discretion whether we want to send her or not.
And am I assuming correctly that what I read, it's because she's under a year?
Because she is under a year, she'll qualify for up to 20 hours.
Yeah.
But now the first 10 hours will be the COHA, the actual computer. The second set of 10 hours is for additional of what's new out there. Librarian training has nothing then to do with actually with that computer program.
I've made my position known on this, but I've heard what's being said. In my opinion, the way this was put together, it's not our position to question what the library wants to do.
Correct.
It's to facilitate it. The only reason I even think this is an area of topic we should even be discussing is because of the audit issue. So I don't know who's going to write it, but I think a resolution, keeping it simple, is just simply say we approve that we're going to get audited in this process, or share our audit, or however that goes.
You just have to share it.
And we just need to just do that and get out of the way, is the way I'm thinking. But somebody has to write up a resolution to bring before us so that we can all look at it, agree to it, and sign off on it.
And I wouldn't have a clue how to start formulating that.
Yeah.
Is there a time sensitive in getting this done?
Yeah, this was already supposed to have been done and
So-
started.
What I would say, so personally, to Bingham's advice with it, as far as the requirements, I would just say as long as the library board is aware of the requirements and reporting requirements and stuff, you guys, if you go into that clear-eyed, I say go for it. It's your guys' responsibility to take care of that.
Should our resolution then kick in and cover that, your end of the resolution?
I mean, the library
Well-
resolution.
So what I would say is we don't have anything to vote on here tonight as far as the resolution. There is no document for us, and we can't craft something like that in this meeting. So that's not for tonight, even as much as we might wish that it would be. If Denise's contention is correct, that the resolution that they have already takes care of that, what we can do is authorize Jess to sign it. He would have our endorsement to do so. Now, if in figuring out all the things, it is indeed true, if we ask Bingaman, why do you insist that we need a resolution to do this? Doesn't this already count? He'll either tell us why it doesn't count, and I guess since none of us, reading that document that they sent, that's one of the most convoluted pieces of.
There's boilerplate,
Yeah, it's
right?
so
Boilerplates.
It's
all over.
boilerplate agreement.
Everywhere.
I
Except
try
for the exhibits.
to stretch into
Well,
things
it
that you
talks
can-
about equipment. We're not getting equipment.
right, and there's a
They talk about this, we're not getting that. When they talk about money, we're not getting money. We never see any of
Right.
that payment, except for, we'll probably get $157 once we pay that out to pay us back. That would be the only money that we will be
right.
getting.
So my point is that I don't want to speak for any of the council members, but while the council has wrote resolutions, when we feel like it's something we can put our minds around, because that document is so messed up, I don't think any of us should be touching the drafting of, or Jess, or anyone here should draft that. So if Bingaman says that we do in fact need a contract after hearing Denise's argument about whether we do or not, then we'll ask him to draft it.
I would agree.
And if he agrees with Denise's argument to say we don't need it, then we've already given the authorization to Jess to sign it, and it's done before the next meeting.
Fair enough.
We all good with that?
Yes.
Okay, I make a motion to authorize the mayor, if he is advised by council to do so, to sign all necessary paperwork to adopt the grant for the library board.
I'll second that.
Okay.
I'd like to offer a one-word amendment.
Mm-hmm.
Legal counsel? Wasn't it just counsel to clarify?
Yeah, legal counsel.
Okay. Okay. Motion is advised to mayor, okay.
And I should probably tweak that a bit, because legal counsel doesn't advise you to sign things. If he is advised by legal counsel that it would be acceptable to do so in the process of adopting this grant or accepting this grant. Because Bingaman's not going to say, yes, you should sign this. He's going to say, you could sign it, it would work to do this. My words are failing me.
We could sign it, it just depends then what Bingaman says whether you need to write a resolution
Right.
or whether you can
Right.
use ours. So he could still sign it,
Right.
Okay.
but then you just have to have.
Yeah, the only
Bingaman-
question is whether it comes back to a resolution that the council needs to adopt. In which case, we'll either need a special meeting or it'll be at our next meeting. And because of the time sensitivity to this, that would be less
Special
than
meeting,
ideal.
get in here and get it
So I'm
done.
just trying to make sure that we give Jess as much latitude between here and the next meeting as would be appropriate per our legal counsel.
Okay. So what he said.
Exactly.
So what did you say?
Okay, let me try.
Because this is what is all over the board.
Yeah. So to restate my motion would be that the council authorizes the mayor to sign all necessary paperwork to accept the grant for the library board if he is advised by legal counsel that it would be appropriate for him to be able to do so.
Which he was already told off of the
Okay.
letter.
Well,
Okay,
Right.
hold on. Okay.
yeah, but the question, there is your outstanding question of which resolution and whether that is a resolution that you guys have
Mhm.
or if it's a resolution that we need to sign. And so the advice from
Okay.
Bingaman is saying, is there a paper that he can sign? If so, we're saying yes, he can sign it. If that paper doesn't yet exist, then we'll have to work on how do we get that back to us, signed and out to Jess to be able to sign.
Okay. This is recorded, so we're gonna have to,
Yeah.
not gonna repeat this, but, okay, so we have a motion by Stephen and a second by Levi. Any more discussion? By anybody? Okay. Boy. Okay. No, not hearing any further discussion.
I'm good.
Let's go with a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Alrighty, all opposed?
Wasn't my best job of work.
Abstain,
but I did
1. Motion passes 401.
We understood the spirit of your statement,
Yeah.
Stephen.
Poor Donna, trying to write that one up.
We gave her time to hit delete and go back again.
Okay, second, and you may or may not, we had Budget Blind come down and look at the windows and give us a price on blinds. And they're, with it being, so with your office being there, everything's cool, but if you guys actually move, the blinds cannot have the strings, so, okay, so we made sure that we followed the law, the rules, and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, I gave it to Donna, it's $1,099. We were just wondering if the council would be willing to split that with us. And if you don't, that's fine, we did order them. But they're very nice, and they're gonna look so much better than what's up there.
So I guess the question to council to decide,
I'm just asking if council would be willing to split the bill with us.
I think those things are as old as I am.
They're older, honey. We're older, it's older. They're more my age.
And Budget Blinds does a really good job, because I just had my dining room and living room done.
Easier to ask for you.
What, Jeff?
Well,
What'd you say?
Easier to ask forgiveness.
I'd say I appreciate that the library board was so committed to the improvement of the building that they were willing to do it out of their own budget if we said no. I admire that. I think if we had been brought in earlier in the process, I would have entertained the possibility of paying for the whole amount. But being where we are, I'm okay with that. I think, we talked about it in general, this is still our building, whether we're here or not, we still own this building, and building maintenance, we're gonna have to have a larger discussion at some point about, it's not, let me put it this, it is my contention that it's not going to work if we think we're going to leave here and then stick the library for all the building maintenance. If we do that, we're gonna have to increase their budget and a lot more to pay for it, so it comes, it's all.
The money's coming out either way.
If the air conditioner goes out, you know, this summer after we move over there, we're not gonna be like, buy library board,
If
pay
you'd
for
like to
it.
pay for the whole
So-
$1,099, please, by all means, feel sorry for us.
Well,
And
so what I am saying is this, why I won't go there right off the bat with it is, I would say that if we're gonna pay the bill of it being our building to maintain, I would like the council to be in on the decisions is ahead of time to say what bids were there and do we want to go that direction. So I can accept the proposal of half for now, but my encouragement to the library board would be say, if you bring these things to us earlier with it, we can discuss at least being more generous with that to make sure that this building is properly maintained.
noted.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to pay $550 towards, which is just over half, towards the new blinds to improve the facility that is jointly used by City Hall and the library.
I'll second.
And
I'm getting really
Levi
good at that.
seconds it.
Noticed it.
These are set.
Okay, have a motion by
Second
Joe,
motion to adjourn.
second by Levi. Is there any more discussion on that matter?
I just have a question. Are they vertical or horizontal? Oh, okay, and what color are they? This is a woman thing, I gotta know.
Almost the color of those.
So kind of an off-white
Yeah,
or,
off-white.
okay.
And they're not, they'll either go down or they'll go up. So you just twist the little stick.
Oh, man.
So each window will have its own. And that way, when they're sitting there, she can move them up so the sun does not come beating in on her and the computer, so she can actually see.
Doesn't she have the little buttons on the bottom where she just lifts it up?
No, they're not that tight. Those are like twice as much, 3 times as much. So these are the faux.
Okay.
They're a faux and they'll stay. And then, but you can, I think you have them in your house.
Yeah, the only difference is mine has strings too, you can physically
Yeah,
move them.
these you can't have strings because in a library, you cannot have strings because children can hang themselves.
But basically, everybody's happy with them, right? Okay. Let's move on, we got an agenda here that we need to press on. So, any more discussion? Clear on discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Abstained? Myself? Motion passes 401. Thank you, council.
Thank you guys very much.
Okay, yeah, all the good stuff, fun stuff here. Okay, what do I do now? We have some long minutes to address here. Done really well.
Yes, very well.
Approval of minutes from January 25th, 2023.
Move to approve the minutes from the January 5th, 25th, 2023 meeting.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Levi and a second by Stephen. Any discussion?
I have one correction, and I'm sorry I did not catch it earlier. It's a typographical error. It's not abbreviated as IGG for Interstate Infrastructure Group. It's IIG.
I didn't catch that, yeah.
So, I mean, it's just that simple.
Yeah.
Okay, duly noted.
Very thorough, thank you.
Very good.
Yes. Kudos to our clerk.
Any more discussion? We all good with them? Okay. All in favor of adopting the minutes as presented? Say aye.
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 All opposed? Abstain? Myself. Motion passes 401. Thank you, guys.
As we go through claims, I don't know, maybe this is always just been a me thing, but I think I suggest we do it as separate documents because there's the check register document and then there's the other claims document. So I would suggest we do it document by document, but that's just me.
Would you explain that again?
So as it pertains to our claims, there's two PDFs. There's the check register one that's in the Springbrook, format that we always used to get. And then there's the list of claims that has things from like the Visa bill and that stuff. So I'd say if we can do them as two separate, at least discuss them as two separate documents so that we know which one we're looking at when.
Are you referring to that
That's
page?
one of them.
That's
and then,
one.
And then the other one is the check register document.
Okay, because we will
The one that
have,
has Harrington Truck and Auto, Lincoln County Public Works, MKB, Bingaman, Office Depot, Rico, and US Bank. Unless, maybe I missed, are they all inside that?
when I printed it out, it all comes as one. I'm not seeing the, but
So I'm referring to this, David.
I didn't even see this. Okay, we can do that. So check register and claims want separated.
Just at least discussion, because otherwise sometimes if we have open questions and we start weaving back and forth between two PDFs, it gets confusing.
Claims.
You have the check register?
Yeah, I was just briefly looking at it to see if there was a duplicity. I don't see it. So,
I don't have any questions on the check register document.
Okay, so yeah, we can do that first then. Check register document. Motion to accept. Levi?
motion to approve the check register that was top right printed on February 1st at 23:05.
Yep. Second.
Okay.
Joe can have it.
Okay. Levi raised his hand, Joe, is why he's asking.
I was about to speak, but you can't see me over here, so it's just fine.
I have somebody sitting next to me all of a sudden.
My head is blinding you.
You guys can go ahead and fight over it.
Oh yeah, the glare.
Is this where I can talk?
I'm sorry?
Is this where I can talk?
Okay, we have a motion to accept as presented from Joe and seconded by Stephen. Discussion.
So the check register is the claims that were presented and approved at the last meeting. This is just those checks being cut.
Oh,
Okay, so these have already been approved. This is just us
Yes.
seeing them.
Yes, this
Okay.
is just you seeing them after I've input them into bias and printed the checks.
Groovy.
That's why I didn't see it.
So
Okay.
as a matter of procedure, do we need to re-sign this document, or was our handwritten signature on the other
That
one?
one was fine. I was just requested that you also get this one.
Okay.
Got it.
I thought some of them looked familiar, but for a while there we were seeing documents that had the last times on it as well, so I guess I was so used to seeing figures for two
No,
meetings.
I was down
so-
here at 23:05 making checks.
I was going to say, that was awfully late. I was wondering if that was East Coast or something.
Nope, that's now.
My question on this might be just procedurally, is this kind of the idea after we approve the claims, then the next meeting we see is after it's become check register reality?
Yes,
Yeah.
because I don't put them into bias until after they're approved.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we're going to see this every,
And then we don't need to vote on it.
we don't have
Yeah.
to vote on the check
Okay.
register, we're voting on the claims.
So you want to withdraw your motion?
I want to withdraw my motion, please.
Okay.
I thought I needed to get that in there before the vote.
Thank you.
Motion withdrawn.
Okay, I'll move to adopt the claims. We'll put it into discussion anyway.
Okay.
Second.
Do we have a motion to accept the claims as presented and by Stephen and second by Joe? Any discussion? I have one for clarification that I had the clerk, some council members may be privy to it, but J.R. Massey and Company LLC, water project, they're asking for $452,714.82. And from the documentation I have, for those that don't know, that was explained to me. The state pays us, the city, and then we turn around and write a check to J.R. Massey, so everybody knows. And Steve Marsh from TD&H, he's spearheading this. He recommends we sign and pay. It's standard procedure.
Yep.
However, with caveats to this, there is a retainage percentage that we're holding back of $22,062.13, which will be paid to them with another figure here, I'll get to in just a second, when they finish, absolutely come back and finish everything.
Yeah.
And on this graph, if you guys don't have it, the total figure for them to come back and finish the balance, the tax included and everything, is gonna be $37,615.25.
Okay, yeah. And that still puts us well within our grant amount.
Correct.
So I don't have a problem with that.
Is this so you guys understood?
Yep, appreciate that, David.
Question, okay.
My only question is regarding HD Fowler Company. I'm just not quite sure I understand the description with 2 water meters outbound freight charge. Like, I'm getting that we probably bought 2 water meters, but what does outbound freight charge mean?
Are they charged?
Oh, okay. So the essential part of it is we just bought 2 water meters.
Yes, that's what.
Do you have it in that folder, the receipt? Is there freight? Is it just for freight that we pay? Or is it just the meters plus freight?
This is right here.
But-
It's plus, but I'm not certain.
Sorry, I didn't realize that was what this was. This was your folder.
No.
Thanks for the clarification. Sorry. We're gonna vote on it anyways.
Yeah.
Water meter plus freight.
Plus freight. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, we're good.
Okay.
I have no further questions.
Council members, good? Okay, we have a motion, it's seconded, discussion. Here, no further discussion. All in favor of accepting the claims as presented, say aye.
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 All opposed? And abstain myself. So motion passes 401. Thank you. More paper. Okay, moving on. We have payroll. And I believe that is for 1/31, January 31st of 2023, correct? Is that what you have, Ms. Donna?
Well, 26, 22, 125.
Mhm. And just to note, this is generated by Lefalotus and Warwick.
Okay, that's what I thought.
This is direct from them as far as what they're doing for us now.
Okay.
I move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and a second by Levi. Any discussion? Not hearing any discussion. All in favor of accepting the check record of the City of Harrington, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? Myself? Motion passes 401. Thank you. Okay. We're getting there. You're up there, kiddo. Treasurer's report.
So I don't have a formal treasurer's report. I have some updates though.
Okay.
I believe the resolution is gonna help with the issue I spoke on last time with getting access for everybody to Springbrook and Bias. Well, no, I'm sorry, not Springbrook and Bias. Single Point and check signing capabilities and all those things. Along with that, I noticed that also on here is approval of Springbrook training for city clerk. Is it possible we could, I don't know, discuss me also getting some training or something at some point? I have reached, or Mike has reached out to me on that. Writing the checks until 2300 at night is a lot, and there wasn't a lot that I've been able to be trained on for that. So just understanding more about like where the funds are and stuff is what I'm kind of working on. Like where the checks are paid from. I've also been down and talked to Donna and Cynthia and Jess about how the checks are written and how those funds come out. So there's clarification for everybody on that too. So I just didn't know if that's something we can talk about it at the next meeting if we need to or whatever. But just from the treasurer's standpoint, writing the checks has brought up new challenges in Springbrook.
Have you expressed that concern or wish with
Jeff?
with the mayor? Yes.
Oh yeah, we've talked about it.
Okay.
We haven't talked about Springbrook training for me. I just noticed that it was on here. I was like, oh, I'd love to get in on that.
So you haven't talked to them about you being trained with them?
No.
Okay.
I have discussed the challenges with understanding where, like, the Visa bill, like, where each of those funds come out of and everything, and making sure the receipts are presented so I can make sure it's pulled out of the right spot and things like that. So lots of learning has happened this month with me being in charge of payroll. But oh, and then the other thing I wanted to mention is you will receive another check register as well for payroll separately. The same format that Springbrook does, you'll receive that as well.
Okay.
You won't have to vote on it because you just did, but you'll see those.
Okay.
Okay.
If those documents, are we printing them and rescanning them before they go out in the council packet?
I'm sorry, which one?
So for like the check register and then payroll register, are we printing them and scanning them back in? Is that what you're currently doing?
I'm printing them.
Huh?
I am printing them.
Okay. If they're getting printed and then scanned as a part of being put into the council packet, what I would recommend is write paid on it.
Oh, okay.
That way the documents that we don't need to vote on, there's just a reminder at the top of it that it's like, this is just an FYI, this is not an actionable document.
Don't spend 20 minutes discussing this.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I can do that.
My 2 cents with the training, and this is also one little thing I wanted to note to Donna the other day, but I forgot to, is that I would recommend that we ask Springbrook in the training if there is any permissiveness to being able to record the training sessions for a couple of reasons. One, when I've gone through training myself, it's one thing to try and like take notes and another thing to absorb information.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can be focused on trying to be in the moment and absorb what you're telling me, or I can be writing notes, but not both. And so then when the training's done with it, you don't have anything to go back to if you're not taking your notes, right? So if we can record that in some form, then she has something to go back and review and say, okay, oh, that's right. We went here and here and did this and that and the other thing. Second of all, it provides a library of information for us to hold in the future to say, this is how we do things. If something was to suddenly happen to Donna and Cynthia would be trying to fill in again, we would at least have something even at 8 o'clock at night where we could say, hey, this training document video exists and we can look there. Maybe that'll get us what we need to get. And then it can be a resource for this. Now, they might say no to that because they charge us for the training, and they very well might say, no, we would much rather sell you another training series than to allow you to videotape it. But if you don't ask, you don't get an answer. So that would be one thing of it, is if we have recordings, that would be helpful. Second of all, I personally would prefer to talk about your training after Donna's is complete.
Oh, okay.
Because I believe it's $2,000 is the flat training rate, which I don't think is exorbitant compared to some other trainings that I've known that companies will run for costs. But I'd be curious to know, what do things look like at that point in time as Donna's been learning more and she can teach you what she knows. Then I'd like to have the discussion of, well, we can't really get from where we are to where we need to be without further training. Right now, we don't know what we can do in-house until she's done with her training.
Absolutely.
So I'm willing to discuss it, but probably not anytime soon, because I think, Donna, is that 3 months? 2 months? 3 months? 2 months.
2 months of training.
I
think so.
And to the extent, you probably don't need, but your request and what I'm hearing is not as extensive as what she's gonna need.
Okay, so.
So, and I don't have the answer to that. Does anybody, I don't think we have the answer to. if they
And then
have
we
a-
would need to know if they sell anything. They might only sell one training package. We'd have to know, you know.
We would also need to know if those trainings are available after normal banking hours. Or if it's something where I would need to be here during business hours.
Yeah.
So there's a few questions, but if it's available, I'm not opposed. But that's what I have for Treasurer's Report right now.
Okay. Well, thank you, Sage.
Having 2 people trained is a form of redundancy that,
It would behoove the city to have that, because
since we don't have 2 clerks.
there's only one person that we've formally trained, and
Yeah.
that was Janice. And after that, it was just call up and get what you can, piecemeal.
I think Jerry took some
Did he?
trainings. Yeah, I don't know if it was a full course, but I think there were some trainings.
Enough to get by for a certain,
Yeah.
I don't know, yeah, okay. Well, thank you, Stephen, thank you, Sage. Okay, now we have discussion city website. Or no, let's go back.
Left
I-
Lotus.
Got too much blue ink on this thing. Got to decipher it. Leffel, Otis, and Warwick. I was told that the mayor had already signed it, but just so you, or everybody doesn't know, to refresh their minds, is that this is a year contract, a flat rate of $300 per month with a one-time setup fee of $500. That is the contract in a nutshell. I don't have an official one, but this is just what they agreed to.
And that
Is it-
was in line with the stipulations
Yeah.
under which we allowed the mayor to sign, so. think
So
that's
I
good.
don't know if, I don't think we have to vote on anything. If you already signed, it's all good. So we're good there. Good to go. Okay. Go to next. Oops. We have to approve a resolution to replace Resolution 233-2022. And that has to do with who can take the deposits to the U.S. Bank. The new resolution that we want to adopt is 241-2023, correct?
Yes. I make a motion to approve resolution number 241-2023.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the resolution, adopt a new resolution is read
Don't want any surprises.
by Stephen and a second by Levi. Any discussion? No discussion? Okay. After no more discussion, all in favor of adopting resolution 241-2023, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Four. All opposed? Abstain? One. Motion passes 401. Thank you. Okay, now you're up. I should say this is to, yeah, this is the prior motion and the resolution. This is authority to transport the deposit funds to US Bank.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we need a reading of those people or not, but it's.
It's
we
in line
basically
with what
we
we
removed
said.
one.
Yeah, two.
Remove.
Mike and Jerry.
Yes.
Okay.
Mike and Jerry replaced with Sage and Donna.
Donna.
Yeah.
Okay. So moving on, we have discussion of city website.
Springbrook training, I think. Or am I on a outdated agenda?
No, that's current one.
I don't have it on this one. All right, somebody threw a fastball at me.
I move to approve Springbrook training for our clerk, Donna Finkbeiner, which I believe is at the amount of $2,000.
Okay,
That is correct.
I'll second.
Levi second, okay. Okay, we have a motion to approve Springbrook training for the city clerk, Donna, by Stephen, and a second by Levi. Any discussion? Thanks. Alrighty, no further discussion. All in favor of approving the Springbrook training for the clerk?
Yep.
Signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Abstained? Myself. Motion passes 401.
Now we're on.
Okay, now you're on, Stephen.
We're going late enough, and then I have a laundry list to get to after this. So I think that for the most part, we can kick this to the next meeting. I would probably like this to be an agenda item for our next meeting as well. But before I skip through that, did anyone do their homework? I mean, because if anyone did the homework I asked you to do about thinking about what kind of a website you want, in terms of how frequently updated and what you want on it, I don't want you to forget between now and the next meeting. So, while I don't know if we need to host a lot of discussion, is there any thoughts that you need to get out of your head here before we forget?
I just, like we talked, we mentioned briefly, was the fact that, I don't know if we decided, but it'd be nice to, I don't look at overloading it with a bunch of information, but it would be nice to tailor it with some of our ordinances and stuff that, that people can look up and get familiar with if they have questions. And, I don't envision it being like a daily thing or a weekly thing to update. Granted, it could tell you when council meetings are, but you already have another avenue for that. It seems to be working well, I think. And so I don't see a great deal of information, needy information that has to be updated on a constant basis. Maybe, phone numbers of City Hall, the mayor, Public Works, contact numbers, and guidance, that we ran into this last summer, like a state of emergency or for an avenue for reaching people or reach out for that, in that fashion. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever we kind of want it to, I don't know, just nothing real. Whatever information we want to put on there, what's going on here, and that's it.
Levi? No thoughts?
Nope.
Chris?
Not anything yet.
Joe?
I envision a landing page, a sidebar where you can put current happenings, searchable fields, so you can search all the ordinances and everything that are out there, and largely have the bulk of everything being behind the scenes.
Okay. So it sounds like we're going already in a. So one thing I did since the last meeting is I showed Donna where the folder structure is for putting things that get moved to the website. And so actually the resolution that we adopted for the transfer or the moving of funds 2/31/2023 is already on the website. Because the concept being that we work on files hopefully in the location that puts it up to the website, so they're just already there. So the docx file is actually on the website already under the resolutions folder. Now we probably need to talk about putting it in terms of PDFs. There's styling discussions and that kind of thing, but we are making steps to working in the open and having all of the things there and accessible. So.
Is there something by the next meeting or two that that you could put on a present, or so everybody can understand what you're talking about? I mean, step by step, or
Yeah.
we need that. I mean,
I can make my best attempt at it.
well, I'm sure
We'll see where it goes.
I know you don't like paper, but maybe if you just get a grease pen and
I'll see if we can
ideas.
maybe get a TV screen in here or something to show something. Yeah. Okay.
Screens in the back,
Oh yeah.
free of no charge from the library.
All you had on the website now?
Yeah, I think let's leave. I do think we need to discuss it again next meeting, but I think that's good for now.
Okay, well, moving on then. Looks like we're going to the additions to the agenda. Stephen, you were first with some updates.
Yeah, mayor's comments.
That's going to do that after
Okay.
all that.
All right, so this is a laundry list of a few things. Let me pull up. Okay, so I wanted to give a thank you to Diamond Construction and to Justin Slack. Justin stopped me on Monday as I was walking through town and was noting the trim work that they were doing for the Opera House on those windows. And he suggested, hey, while they're there and they got the equipment, maybe you should just see if they would, for some small amount, fix the gap between the two windows that are the northmost up here, which I had never even noticed because that wood is so dark and the hole behind it is dark. I had never even noticed that it was gone. But there was a whole board between those two windows that was just missing, like a 2x4 that had rotted out, fallen out, or something. Yeah, a bird could have just flew right through. Maybe not quite flew, but could have got through. So anyways, I saw Tom happen to be right out there, and I asked him about it, and he said, oh yeah, sure, we'll do that. I said, how much would you want for that? And he said, oh, you just want a board cut to length and screwed in place, right? And I said, basically, just something to keep a little bit of a protection. And he said, yeah, we'll just do that for you. So thank you to Justin for bringing it up and to Diamond for doing it so nicely. Just a brief mention that we got to keep, we've covered enough ground today, but next time we also need to continue to chase down getting the library their own credit card. So just to keep our eyes on that. Another thing, and some of this came from, I reviewed my inbox back a couple months just to make sure we weren't missing anything. We had talked about doing a tour of the McGregor building as landlords.
Mm-hmm.
We have discussion coming up before we can really dive into lease things about what are our designs on that building in the long run. I'm not prepared to discuss that intelligently until I've actually been in the building, which I never have been. So some of you have already been. maybe don't care to go again, but I would appreciate if we could get a tour, which would, I'm assuming, involve giving notice, because that's what you need to do as landlord, so we need to give notice, schedule a time to go do a tour of that building.
Inspection, I think
Yeah.
is what you want to call it.
Another thing here then is, it was suggested to me that that we put a flyer in the Chamber of Commerce packet that's going to go out on March 3rd. We need to run off 330 copies, and what this would be about, our participation in it, is to just notify people of our Facebook page, of the info@harrington.city and the alerts@harrington.city mailing lists. In the course of a full page, we could give some descriptions to help people understand what do you receive when you're on info@harrington.city and what do you receive when you're on alerts@harrington.city. And then call out any other, like our YouTube page, our Facebook page, just ways to connect people with the city that they might not otherwise be aware of. It's my understanding that as long as we print out the pages, like from our copy machine, we can deliver them and they will be put out free as a part of that service with it. So I'm willing to draft that, create it. I just wanted to get your guys' general feeling that you're fine with printing out the copies and the general point of why we'd be participating. Everyone good with that?
This was a newsletter to, or the Commerce newsletter to inform people of.
It's the packet that they mail out to everyone in the town.
The Chamber Quarterly puts out that newsletter packet, and any business or organization that wants to participate just has to get that their page that they've created printed to be put in and stapled together, and it goes out to.
As far as content, is that something?
I draft it, and it's like I said, it's just to say these are the ways in which you can interact with the city. YouTube, Facebook, and the 2 mailing lists, and try to, as best as I can, explain to people the difference between the two. Which, just to take a brief opportunity here, alerts is just for the critical things. It's basically people saying, I'll give you my email address, but don't talk to me unless it's absolutely necessary. That's alerts@harrington.city. Info@harrington.city is, I want it all. Whatever we generally think is appropriate for the public to know. Like today was the first day that we had a notification as soon as we went out on YouTube. As soon as that went live, email went out to say, here's the link, you can watch us, right? So it's a lot lower bar as far as we're going to give you more information because you want to be an informed citizen type thing. So you can choose for yourself which one better suits the level of information you want. So, so it sounds like we're all okay with that if I chase that down? Okay.
Have we done that before? Well, we really haven't, have we?
I don't think so.
Okay, I have no problem doing it. It's one way to get some pertinent information out, like shotgun right now.
Well, and the thing about making sure we're advertising our communication methods is that once more people are connected to our mailing lists and to our Facebook, we have our own ways of directly communicating with people. Right now, we're trying to use the Chamber's communication method of sending out that packet to get people connected to our own methods of communication. So it's just like climbing that first rung of the ladder, really. And then the last thing, and I think that this is going to need discussion that we won't have here, but I just want to mention it as something that I'd like to talk about next meeting, is to continue to think about that honorary party or some type of way to honor those that have been a big part of keeping Harrington afloat and getting us here. So I know there's going to be discussion with that one, and we're already at almost 9 o'clock, but I just wanted to bring it up at least to say I haven't forgot about that, and we need to keep chasing that down, in my opinion.
Okay.
So that was my list.
All right, thank you, Steve.
Thank you for your patience.
Okay, and the next one, we have Joe had a few items.
You know what, in light of the time, it's not critical, we can pass.
Okay, well, I don't have a whole lot of mayor comments, but I do have just a brief in the know. Maybe some of you have seen this or not, I'm not really sure. Jess tried to explain it to me. Not quite sure where this sits, but it's the accounts payable to Andy Tom. We already paid him $27,669.64 last year. And according to the mayor, that we haven't paid him any more since last year, but we haven't been getting anything. Is that what you've also heard as well? So I guess for what it's worth, I don't really know what to do with that right now because I'm not in the know 100%.
Well, last I heard, Jess sent an email to Andy, and I don't think I heard that there was a response back yet.
Okay.
I can probably fill it in.
Okay, go ahead.
There, all of that, but there was a response saying, gee, Andy's not the one doing the billing, and the person that was doing it was just marching on ahead and doing it, and Andy basically said, don't pay anymore. Even if you get an invoice, don't pay it. Flip side of that is Commerce has come out and said, gee, we haven't seen anything from Sewell and Associates. What's up? And it's like, well, we've been paying their bill. I'm like, well, you got grant money to pay it. So I've been working with, since I had the time available, I've been working with Commerce to get the city different government accounts, SAM, SAW, blah, blah, blah. It's all these acronyms. Getting us back online because currently the mechanism that is used to pay these different receipts that come in that are being paid by grant has expired. Especially the USDA stuff. So we're trying to get that back set up and online. And then once that is done, we should actually be getting reimbursed for those funds that went out to Sewell last year in 2022 because they should have been covered by the grant. So it's a number.
This is regarding the water plan, is it
Yeah,
not?
no, this is regarding the wastewater.
Wastewater treatment,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Can I keep my own counsel right now?
So, well, we brought it up last year.
Oh,
It's like,
I
gee, we've been
know.
paying a lot of bills to Sewell. What have they been doing? And it kind of created a question, and Jess started looking into it, and this whole scenario kind of unraveled in front of us. So,
Well, it's probably like everything else, hard to find contractors, work, and and all that other.
no, it's just that we were paying bills that probably should have been being billed differently.
Yeah.
Well, thank you to the mayor and that attentiveness that we caught it.
Yep. Okay, the next thing, just FYI, Mayor received this regard to our DMRs, our sewage, our wastewater treatment plant. So everybody knows, Chris, so you know, you haven't quite met her, but you. We have a new permit manager for the Harrington wastewater discharge permit. She is taking over for Kim Presock. And she's been put in that position. This gal, her name is Lynn Dormus. She was assigned that position in October of 22, last year. 2022, I should say. And this correspondence was sent out January 31st at 1:23 p.m. And she's asking for the DMR report from the samples, or the laboratory analyst results, fourth quarter samples. They're due January 15th. And these are for October through December of 22. So that quarter, they were due the January 15th. And the response she got from Casey Mongi, the 31st, 2023 at 2:09 p.m. was she tried to call her on the Casey tried to call Lynn on her phone, and she forgot to do the quarterly DMRs. So she does verbatim. I do have the lab reports proving that we did the testing. I will get the DMR done ASAP. So it looks like There's no mention of fines or anything like at this time. I don't know where that's gonna go, but hopefully nowhere. But anyways, that's something council should be aware of, I believe, and the mayor wanted to make.
So I would say when Jess mentioned that to me, I expressed my renewed interest in what other options we have. I would advise the council that the discussions that we have here are publicly available. And so any and all discussion that is subject to the OPMA should be discretious in terms of the fact that until she is no longer our only option, just have our discussions reflect appropriately.
Okay. Any other questions? That's about as much as I know about it. Yes. And there's only one last comment. It's my own personal comment. By looking at council the last couple of years and procedures, mainly, one of the things that I have a concern about, and I believe there's ways to remedy the situation, but when we get into reimbursing non-city employees for stuff that we ask the city, they went out and bought something, they get reimbursed. I personally kind of frown on that. There hasn't been a problem, but it sets a, I won't get into all that, we don't have time.
Non-city employees.
But like private citizens or councilmen or mayor or whatever, going out and buying something and then have the city reimburse them. I think council should work on a streamlined way that they don't have to do that. That if you need something, that the city, we have the avenues to take care of that. Sorry if any confusion. But
That makes sense.
it's not a real biggie, but I've seen different things the last couple of years, different transactions. And the question is, why is Public Works having to pay it out of their pocket and get reimbursed, so forth and so on, and the mayor? I think we gotta look at our internal
Yeah, I
stuff.
think our credit card
And I
policies
think
have a lot.
you shouldn't have to do that, whether it's good, bad, or
So, I'll address that
Indifferent.
because I had one, it's the first time I've had one, but it's this document right here that I had to get from the Washington State Archives. It costs $7 because it's X number of dollars per page to have it printed. I'm sitting there right now, I've got the person on the phone, I'm not gonna give that up to come down here and get a credit card, so. I think that's what's happening a lot of the time, it's like, it's a here, it's a now, it just needs to get done, so.
I'm gonna have some expenses to submit on the phone number porting stuff at some point, which I had mentioned to the council ahead of time, but I kind of agree with you in that there are expenses I've incurred for a number of things that I've just eaten because I just don't want to submit. It's just problematic.
Right. Well, I know, and I don't have the answer to this, but I know other organizations and places, they have PO purchase orders and authorization that we'll just have to, look at what you did, Joe. I'm not condemning you for it or whatever, but I'm just saying, maybe Donna, they shouldn't have to do that.
With some pre-planning, it shouldn't have to be done. I had no idea the state was gonna charge the city.
But the latitude that should be given is a PO or something of that effect that you can do it on the spot. You were definitely obviously doing something time sensitive for the city, on behalf of the city, and all that jazz. So, it should be dealt, run through the same. So that's all. It's just it keeps things cleaner in the long run.
Yeah, I
Is
agree.
all my mind. So not a biggie really. So that is all I have. Public comments. Hearing any? No. Okay.
Later.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, move to adjourn by Levi, second by Stephen. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? Myself. 4-0, we are